Let's get started with our first news. Team Khabib has finally broken their silence on all the noise surrounding Khamzat and JDM. After JDM's recent comments and Khamzat throwing out a call-out to Islam Makhachev, Islam's head coach Javier Mendez sat down with Submission Radio and gave some real insight into what might come next. He didn't hold back, and his words set the tone for what could be one of the biggest moves in UFC history. Mendez explained that right now the team's entire focus is on JDM. That's the fight in front of Islam, and that's the fight that matters most. But he also revealed that once Islam takes care of business at welterweight, defends his belt a couple of times and establishes himself as the king of the division, then a move up to middleweight becomes a very real possibility. That's when a clash with Khamzat could happen, and it would be nothing short of historic. It would also give Islam the chance to go after a third belt, something no one in UFC history has ever achieved. Mendez even shared a spicy take, saying he personally believes Khabib would have done even better at middleweight than Islam, but at the same time he made sure to highlight Islam's insane skill set, reminding everyone that he's already proven in the gym he can dominate bigger guys with ease. The conversation then turned to JDM's remarks about Islam's striking. According to Mendez, JDM is in for a rude awakening once he actually steps into the octagon with Islam. He pointed out that Islam has been destroying elite strikers for over a decade, guys with stand-up that on paper looked better than his, yet time and time again Islam has broken them down, dominated, and shown why he's at the top of the game. Mendez also addressed the notion that Islam's striking is more traditional compared to someone like Bilal. He said if JDM really believes that, then it's only going to make his night harder because he's walking into a completely different level of danger. Once he feels Islam's timing, control, and composure, he'll understand that this is not like anything he's dealt with before. As for Khamzat, Mendez acknowledged how huge he is physically and respected the big win he just secured, but he kept things grounded, saying there are still plenty of fights for Islam at welterweight, and that needs to be the priority. The plan as of now is to defend the welterweight title a few times, prove dominance, and then only if Islam feels strong and comfortable, make that leap to middleweight. That's when the super fight could happen. For Team Khabib, it's all about patience, discipline, and making sure every move is strategic. Right now, the target is JDM. Beyond that, the doors to history are wide open. Before moving to the next news, we have one quick request for you. We're constantly working on improving our content to earn your love and support. That's why we truly appreciate it if you could take just a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Move on to another news. Nasruddin, Imavov, and Borralho are set to collide, but this fight has taken on a much deeper meaning than just another clash in the middleweight division. For Borralho, it's all about business. When speaking to the media, he made it clear that for him there's nothing personal at all. In his words, no personal, just business. Just two of the best guys in the world facing each other to see who goes for the belt. He framed the matchup as a test between two top contenders, both chasing the same goal, the middleweight crown. But Imavov sees things very differently. For him, this fight is personal. When he responded to Borralho's comments, he didn't hold back. He said it's too late. Of course it's personal. You're gonna see a relaxed Nasruddin with a lot of experience, calm, and someone who's going to look for the finish. His tone carried a sense of determination, almost a warning to Borralho that what's coming will not be business as usual. Imavov continued by making it clear that he intends to end the fight before the final horn sounds. "I'm going to do everything to finish this guy before the fight ends," he declared with absolute conviction. This isn't just about competing, this is about proving a point, about showing the world and Borralho that his calmness is not an act, it's a weapon. He also took direct aim at Borralho's demeanor, saying he's just playing a role, he's not as calm as he pretends to be. He needs to show that he's calm, but he's not. Imavov painted a picture of an opponent trying to mask his uncertainty, a fighter who puts on the appearance of control but deep down carries doubt. And Imavov was confident in his ability to see through it. "I know how to recognize someone who's having doubts," he said firmly, as though he's already read Borralho's mind before they even touch gloves. That contrast between the two men makes this matchup even more compelling. On one side, Borralho stands with a cold business-like mentality, insisting this is nothing more than a professional contest between two elite middleweights. On the other side, Imavov steps into the spotlight with a fire burning, saying it's too late to play it cool, because this fight has crossed into something deeper. It's about pride, about proving himself, and about dismantling an opponent who in his eyes is hiding behind a facade. As fight night approaches, the tension grows thicker. Borralho may keep repeating that it's just business, but Imavov is ready to turn that notion upside down. For him, there's no going back. It's personal, and he's promising to bring the kind of performance that leaves no doubt. A calm exterior, years of experience, and a relentless drive to finish. Imavov insists that's exactly what fans will see inside the cage, and when the cage door closes, only one of them will walk away with their vision validated. Move on to another news. JDM has shared his thoughts on Islam Makhachev, and he didn't shy away from making a bold statement. In his eyes, Islam's striking is actually easier to deal with than Belal Muhammad's. Speaking to West Sport, JDM broke down the differences as he sees them. He said, "I think Islam is a better version of Belal. I think his striking on the feet, I think it's easier than Bilal's because it's more just, he'll stay in one stance. He's more traditional style. But yeah, he's tough. He's the pound-for-pound #1, so it's a tough fight." For JDM, this is all about preparation. He's well aware of the challenge that comes with facing Islam, but he also believes there are specific things he can work on that will give him the edge. He explained that the first step is going back and re-watching Islam's fights, dissecting every detail of his game, and then creating a plan that's designed to exploit openings. We'll just watch all his fights again, make a solid game plan, and then just start working at it. From pretty much now, I want to start working on ways to beat him, different ways to get back to my feet, stuff the takedowns, JDM added. Confidence is clearly not lacking. Despite acknowledging Islam as the top fighter in the world, the reigning pound-for-pound #1, JDM feels this is a fight he can win. He's already visualizing the path to victory, and he's determined to get the work in starting immediately. For him, it's not just about standing and striking, it's about building a complete strategy that covers every possible situation, from defending the takedown to escaping control positions, and then finding ways to land his own offense. By comparing Islam's striking to Bilal's, JDM is essentially saying that Islam's more traditional style gives him less to adapt to. With Belal, there's more variation, more changes in stance, more unpredictability. But Islam, while dangerous and efficient, sticks to a certain rhythm, and JDM believes that creates opportunities. The challenge, of course, lies in dealing with everything else Islam brings to the table: his relentless pressure, his world-class grappling, and his ability to impose his will on almost anyone he faces. Still, JDM isn't shying away. Instead, he's embracing the challenge head-on. He knows that fighting Islam means preparing for the toughest test of his career, but he's also convinced that with the right plan, the right execution, and the right mindset, he can shock the world. "I'm pretty confident I can get this one done," he said with conviction, leaving no doubt about where his focus is. This matchup is shaping up to be more than just another title fight. It's a clash of styles, a battle of confidence, and a test of who can impose their game plan under the brightest lights. For Islam, it's about continuing his dominance. For JDM, it's about proving that even against the best he belongs, and he can win. Move on to another news. Colby Covington has weighed in on the massive matchup between Islam Makhachev and JDM, set to go down at UFC 322. In an interview with Helen Yee, Colby gave his thoughts on how this fight might play out, and as always, he kept it direct. Colby started by calling the fight interesting and admitted he's genuinely excited to see how things unfold. He pointed out that Islam is still a lightweight moving up, which means he's gonna be a little smaller compared to the welterweights. That difference, according to Colby, could play a major role when the cage door closes. However, he also stressed that Islam is a complete fighter. In his words, Islam is well-rounded, and if he's able to take JDM down and keep him under control, then he can absolutely get the job done. What Colby is really curious about is the size factor. He mentioned how interesting it will be to see whether the physical advantage that JDM brings into the cage will matter against someone with Islam's level of dominance. That's where things get tricky. Colby explained that size and strength can play a huge role, especially when one fighter has to carry the other's weight in grappling exchanges. But at the same time, skill and experience often outweigh raw size. and Islam has proven that time and again. Colby also touched on the betting odds for this fight. He revealed that the books are heavily favoring Islam, with odds sitting at around 3-1. That's a pretty wide margin, and Colby said if the odds makers are leaning that heavily, then it's hard to argue. He admitted, "I guess I've got to go with the odds if they're going 3-1. It's a subtle nod to the fact that even though the matchup has its variables, Islam's track record and dominance can't be overlooked." At the same time, Colby acknowledged the danger that JDM brings. He said straight out that JDM doesn't have the strongest takedown defense, and that could end up being the deciding factor. If Islam can get inside, drag the fight down, and control from the top, then it could be a long night for JDM. Still, Colby added the reminder that you never know. At the end of the day, it's a fight and anything can happen once the shots start flying. Colby finished by praising JDM's hands, recognizing that his boxing is crisp and dangerous. He said if the fight stays standing, JDM absolutely has the tools to land big shots and cause real problems for Islam. That's what makes the matchup so compelling. On one side, you've got Islam's grappling mastery and dominance on the mat. On the other, you've got JDM's powerful striking and ability to end things in a split second. For Colby, that combination is what makes this fight one to watch. He might lean toward Islam because of the odds and the stylistic edge on the ground, but he didn't shy away from pointing out that fans should be ready for fireworks. This isn't just another title fight. This is a true clash of styles, and it promises to be nothing short of exciting. Move on to another news. Justin Gaethje has made a surprising claim that takes fans all the way back to his college wrestling days. Long before he became one of the most violent and exciting fighters in the UFC, Gaethje says he actually took down the legendary Georges St-Pierre when he was just 18 years old. For someone who grew up idolizing the sport, this was a moment that stuck with him forever. When asked about where he was before stepping into fighting, Gaethje explained that he was deep into college wrestling. Wrestling was his life, and it was there that he first crossed paths with some of the top MMA fighters of that era. According to Gaethje, his coaches brought in a group of UFC fighters to train, and among them was Georges St-Pierre, who at that time was already the champion. Gaethje, young and hungry, stepped onto the mat with him. What happened next gave him a memory that would shape his future. In Gaethje's own words, "I was in college wrestling and I told my coaches they brought some UFC fighters in and I took him down." Georges St-Pierre took him down when I was probably 18 and he was a champion at the time. That moment, taking down one of the greatest of all time while still a teenager, lit a fire inside him. He wasn't just a fan anymore. He was starting to realize he could belong in that same world. Gaethje admitted that at the time he was still just a massive fan of the sport. He wasn't yet the highlight that many fans know today. He described how he and his friends would gather at Buffalo Wild Wings, sitting for 6 to 8 hours at a time, spending maybe $12, and watching entire fight cards from start to finish. He was obsessed, living and breathing MMA as a fan, long before he was competing inside the octagon. Looking back, the story paints a picture of a young wrestler who not only admired the sport but was already brushing shoulders with greatness. Taking down a legend like Georges St-Pierre wasn't about proving he was better. It was about getting that first taste of what it felt like to compete against someone operating at the very top. For Gaethje, that single moment showed him the level he wanted to reach. It was a glimpse into a future he was determined to chase. The mix of humility and pride in the way Gaethje recalls it is what makes the story stand out. On one hand, he was just a kid, a fan sitting in restaurants for hours to watch his heroes fight. On the other, he had already stepped onto the mat with one of those heroes, and for just a brief moment, he got the better of him. That kind of experience doesn't just disappear, it stays with you, fuels you, and shapes your mindset for the battles ahead. For Justin Gaethje, that takedown at 18 wasn't just a memory, it was proof that he belonged, that he had the potential to rise from being a fan in the crowd to becoming one of the most feared warriors in the cage. Move on to another news. Paulo Costa has taken direct aim at Khamzat, blasting the newly crowned champion while revealing that the UFC has already offered him another fight. For Costa, the frustration is clear. He's been gunning for Khamzat, wanting that matchup ever since the middleweight division saw its landscape shaken up. After Khamzat captured the belt from Du Plessis in dominant fashion at UFC 319, Costa made it known he wanted the shot. It's not the first time these two names have been linked. Back at UFC 294, the fight was set. Costa was scheduled to face Khamzat in what was supposed to be a massive showdown, but just days before the event, everything fell apart. Costa was forced to withdraw because of a serious elbow infection, and that clash was lost. Ever since then, fans and Costa himself have been waiting for the opportunity to revisit it. Despite hitting a rough patch in his career, Costa managed to turn things around in July at UFC 318. Facing Roman Kopylov in the co-main event, Costa delivered a disciplined, sharp performance that silenced critics and snapped his skid. He earned a clean decision win, proving he still has plenty left in the tank. With that victory, he wasted no time on the microphone, calling out Khamzat directly and demanding the fight that slipped through his hands a year earlier. Costa even made it clear he would have been fine fighting Du Plessis, the former champion who had just been dethroned by Khamzat. That would have given him another huge opportunity at the top of the division, but instead it seems the UFC has different plans for him. Rather than lining him up with Khamzat or Du Plessis, Costa says he's been offered a fight against another Russian opponent, this time taking place far away from home on the other side of the world. That revelation has left Costa unimpressed. From his perspective, he's a one-time title challenger, a top 15 ranked middleweight, and he feels he's earned the right to face the best of the best. Instead, he's being matched with someone outside the rankings, and that doesn't sit well. To Costa, accepting a fight with an unranked opponent is a step back, especially when he's been campaigning loudly for a shot at Khamzat, the man holding the belt right now. Costa's words carried that familiar fire fans know him for. He's not shying away from the fact that he wants big fights, fights that will push him closer to another title shot. But with Khamzat newly crowned and already looking at the top of the division, Costa has been left in limbo. His frustration is less about the opponent itself and more about the missed opportunity to face the names he's been chasing. The Brazilian has never been one to hold his tongue, and this is no different. For him, fighting another unranked Russian is not the reward he wanted after clawing his way back into the win column. What he wanted was Khamzat, what he asked for was Du Plessis, and what he got was something else entirely. Costa has made it clear he's ready for the top, and he won't stop blasting until he gets there.